Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make mini scrunchies. So I've got a child size and I've also got an adult size. So the main difference is that the child size is made with 7 by 35 centimeters, whereas the adult size is made with 7 by 50 centimeters. And also the elastic, they have 6 inches in them or 15 centimeters, and these ones have 20 centimeters or 8 inches in them. So as you can see, they're much more easier to put on my wrist. Whereas these ones, I mean, they still fit, but they're kind of a bit tight. So these ones are better for kids. I'm also going to be showing you how to do 2 different ways to make them. So this is the way that I make them, which is just sewn straight across. And then there's also this way, which is like an invisible seam sort of thing, and so the elastic sort of moves freely in there. I'd also like to thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video, but more about them at the end of the tutorial. So what you'll need is some fabrics. I'm just using satin here. You'll also need some elastic. I'm using 3mm elastic. You can use bigger if you have it. A safety pin and some scissors. You also need like a tape measure and other bits and bobs. And this is a sewing machine tutorial as well, so you will need a sewing machine for this one. First, what you want to do is cut the fabric. So I've got my fabric folded in half. So I'm just going to cut straight down here. I cut my scrunchies about 7 centimeters, which is about 2.5 inches. And then I cut it by about 35 centimeters. So you should have a strip like this. So you just want to turn your sewing machine on, and what we're going to do is we're going to fold so the pretty shiny sides on the inside. So we're just going to fold it in half, and I usually use probably about 3mm in the stitch length. And you're just going to start sewing. You don't want to sew too close to the edge either. Maybe leave maybe 1/4 of an inch little hem part. So to flip this tube, what you want is a safety pin. And what you do is you clip that on the end, make sure it's like maybe 1 centimeter at least away from the edge, otherwise it might rip the fabric, and you push that through. You want to hold with your thumb on one end, and with your other finger you want to just gently push that down until you reach the other end and pull. And that's flipped. So with the elastic I use about 6 inches, which is about 15 centimeters, and you want to secure a safety pin on one end and insert it into one of the holes, or one of the ends of the scrunchies. And pretty much exactly how we just flip the scrunchie, we're going to hold at the end and wiggle with this hand. So say I can't get all the way, what you want to do is again hold really tight with this one and pull with this one. But make sure you don't pull too far, because otherwise you'll pull the elastic and it'll go straight back up. And then with your other fingers, just like gently pull that down. There we go. So once you got the 2 ends, I just do like a balloon knot. So it wraps around your finger and then in the hole. Gently pull. So it's pretty stretchy. Next, what you want to do is pop one end underneath itself. So I'm going to use this end. You're just going to fold that back underneath. Like that. So now the end's under there. And then you're going to pop this side over the top of the other side. So Sometimes I like to use things like either scissors or something, or even a pencil to like shove that in if they're really small holes. Sometimes the fabric can be like slippery or like too hard to put in. There we go. So once that's in, it's probably into about there. You want to make sure that's nice and flat and the edges, the seams are all matching up and they're all going around the same direction. Yep. And then we're going to pop it back onto the sewing machine. With this step, I always do 1 millimeter to go across, because that way it won't break. So pretty much just sewing across the seam so that way it doesn't come apart. And then what you want to do is grab some scissors and snip off all the threads. So this one's a little bit more complicated than the first one we did. What you want to do first is put both ends together with the shiny side on the inside, or the nice printed side. What you want to do is sew just across here. And make sure you also back stitch as well. So then that will look like that. So what you want to do next is lay it flat. I find it easiest to have the part that we've just sewn directly in the middle on the bottom. So they're laying on top of each other. And what you want to do is fold the middle part in on both sides on the top part. So that's still like not connected, like that. And then fold right around like this and make sure both the hem lines meet. And it's important not to get that middle part too close to the edge, otherwise you'll sew over it. And then pop it back under the sewing machine, and while leaving that little gap part. It's also important to back stitch this part as well. And you just keep sewing down and make sure you're only getting 2 bits of the fabric, and make sure you don't get the middle part. So once you get a little bit further down, you can actually pull this middle part down, as long as you haven't got it caught. So I'm going to pull that middle part down and continue on. And you want to keep doing that until you're right around to where you've already sewn. And leaving about 1 inch, you want to stop and just do a little back stitch, because that little hole is where we'll be pulling the fabric in the right way. To pull this one in the right way, you just open up that little hole and grab the inside part. Just wiggle it out. And then you should end up with a tube like this. And you'll notice how that's the hole there. So that's where we'll be popping the elastic through. What you want to do is attach the safety pin to the end. Find where the hole is, so the hole's there. Stick that in. And what you want to do is just sort of like wiggle that around. Very similar to how we did the last scrunchie. And you just want to make sure you don't lose this end. So make sure you're always holding it. There you go. So once you got the 2 ends together, you can just do another balloon knot like that. And then the last and final step for this one is you want to sew closed this little gap here. So you want to bend those inwards, and we'll use the sewing machine. Again, we're going to use 1mm to sew that across. So I've set my machine to 1mm, and I'm just going to sew across that little opening quite close to the edge. And then you can just snip off those excess bits.
And thank you Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and here's a little bit of information about them.
Skillshare is an online learning community which offers thousands of inspiring classes to people like you and me, creative people. They have so many classes from illustration, graphic design, they have freelancing and entrepreneurship sort of classes as well. They also do marketing. It's made specifically for learning, so that means there's no ads, stuff that you need to learn and can learn, and it's just a really well set out platform. So it's definitely worth having a look at. There's just so many amazing classes that I just can't wait to do. Obviously I'm gonna have to find some time to do them, but there's one that's like a Procreate for beginners, and I think doing this class will help me like learn a lot more as well. This one's by Kat, so I have started this one. I've learned a couple things already, and it's less than $10 a month for an annual subscription as well. For my first 1,000 subscribers, to click the link in my description, you'll get a free trial of the premium memberships. Definitely worth checking out.
Thank you all so much for watching this tutorial. I hope it was beneficial for you, and I hope that you understood it. If you have any questions at all, please comment below. I'll try my best to try and help you. And if you want to check out my online store, I also sell these if you don't want to make them yourself, which is madebytaylahrose.com. Thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely day. Bye!